In 1997, Togo opened their final international attraction at Knott's Berry Farm, resulting in lawsuits and the short-lived failure of a ride that would cause the end of Togo International. Windjammer Surf Racers, a ride that would cause the company to declare bankruptcy.
Togo has been the leading Japanese manufacturer of amusement rides since its establishment in 1935. Togo International is equipped to handle all aspects of ride production. As a supplier of amusement rides, we understand the concerns of our clients, because in many cases, we are the client.
By 1986, the fanciful sets and breakaway walls of wacky soapbox races had been worn down by the elements and removed. What remained was an arrow steeplechase with funky, wood-planked carts sporting used pie tins for grills. Underneath the cars, Arrow's steel track was wearing out, and in time would require a complete replacement. That same year, the park's CEO, Terry Van Gorder, made proclamations about the future of Knott's Berry Farm and the Roaring Twenties airfield that the racers called home. Terry boasted of a $30 million 5-year plan that would alter the meaning of Knott's position as the California park. The plan called for a re-theming of the Roaring Twenties to appeal to the visitors from the Pacific Rim. Terry's vision included 2 new major attractions, one being a super roller coaster. 2 months before Van Gorder rolled out the international strategy, the design and planning team delivered Pacific Pavilion, an 1,100-seat amphitheater with a pool for dolphins, a sea lion, and diving doggies. It replaced the Starlight Pavilion with a sculpted, bizarre exterior inspired by the World's Fair architecture of the turn of the last century. Just a quick Lindy hop away from the Pacific Pavilion, the Roaring Twenties would see its first undoing when Knott's corkscrew was replaced with Boomerang. The station and setting of the Vekoma shuttle lacked the Pacific Rim aesthetic Terry promised 4 years earlier. Meanwhile, 35 miles north of Cincinnati, Ohio, a famed Japanese coaster maker was opening a branch office in the Americas.
Togo has been the leading Japanese manufacturer of amusement rides since its establishment in 1935. The company owns and operates Hanayashiki Amusement Park and manages operations in 15 other parks across the country. Togo began its export of excitement in 1972. Realizing the need to better service our clients in North America, South America, and Europe, a subsidiary was established in May of 1991. Located in Middletown, Ohio, Togo International Incorporated manufactures Togo products in the United States. As a supplier of amusement rides, we understand the concerns of our clients, because in many cases, we are the client.
Togo Japan was on the rise, having invented the stand-up coaster in 1982, the Heartline coaster in 1984, and the Hypercoaster in 1988. With the aim of tapping the growing US market, they incorporated a subsidiary in 1991 and named it Togo International Inc. Togo International's first American sale was to Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, who were looking to fill the void left by Ultra Twister. Togo invited the buyers to a testing facility in Ohio and presented a prototype steel coaster with a barrel roll element. In May of 1995, Viper opened at the New Jersey park, and right away operators ran into technical issues with Togo's product. Viper would not get up to normal operations until the end of June. Nevertheless, Six Flags was convinced the new coaster would draw thrill seekers, especially teens, and worked through the kinks.
The
These individuals were seen entering Knott's Berry Farm without paying. What made them think they could get away with it? It was their birthday, and everyone gets into Knott's free on their birthday, no matter what their age. Enjoy all of Knott's 165 rides, shows, and adventures absolutely free. Even if it's not your birthday, kids still get in for just $9.95. So why spend your birthday anywhere but Knott's Berry Farm? It's not only fun, it's free.
9 years on, Terry's grand plans had turned a land that was once a proving ground for daring aviators into a mishmash. The runway from Captain Kelly's to the log ride passed for a little better than a carnival midway. Wacky soapbox racers clung to its 1920s vibe, while the neighbouring Boomerang and XK1 did their own things. Marion Knott's expansion now lacked cohesion. Attendance was also on the decline. Under these circumstances, the family board agreed to an overhaul of the Roaring Twenties airfield. The new direction would see the racers land used for the promised super roller coaster, as well as become the area's focal point. Knott's design and architecture team, an extraordinarily prolific group, churned out multiple ideas for the super roller coaster over the years. Looking to the stars, a race to Saturn suggestion would have offered the first Tomorrowland-style experience to Knott's Berry Farm. Another concept was dubbed Speed Coaster, and would have divided the airfield up into 2 precincts. A third idea was Race to Atlantis, which combined the thrill of competing coasters with a detailed exploration of the briny depths. Race to Atlantis was conjured from the farm's winning combination of intriguing history, immersion, and unique ride systems. The nearby eatery would even be set in a mine for good measure. Race to Atlantis was received with sticker shock. Though too expensive to pursue, its moorings would bubble up as a similar theme, one as Californian as the Golden Poppy. Announced in February of 1996, the boardwalk would transform the entire Roaring Twenties airfield into a land celebrating the Southland's fabled beach culture. The first major addition in this mold was Hammerhead, an 82-foot tall roto-shape festooned with marine life. Impressive and intense, the ride dove right into the beach theme with dramatic effect. Other boardwalk options, not so much. Boardwalk's aesthetic approach wasn't meant to evoke the seaside getaways of the past. Instead, the intent was to spotlight a new generation of ocean-oriented attractions. Terry promised the boardwalk would introduce guests to the best, most exciting amusement attractions on Earth. 6 months after Hammerhead's successful opening, Knott's revealed the wacky soapbox racers bar raising replacement. In keeping with the tradition established by the motorcycle chase, the new attraction will be a set of racing coasters. Planned on a $9 million budget, the side-by-side tracks would feature vertical loops on a tight course. Most importantly, the attraction would include a coastal landscape that expressed the most youthful and vigorous aspect of California beach culture: surfing. Tom Sutton was the principal designer of the new attraction station and general layout. Knott's design and planning team, under Robin Hall, handled the rest, including vehicle designs to emulate the surfing motif. Tracy Cavola and John Barr created graphics that captured the spirit of mid-90s teen culture. The ride was named Windjammer Surf Racers.
Wonderful. It did exactly the same thing it did the first time. Dude, it was awesome. Started going real slow, got to the top, dropped down, then he started spinning. I was scared out of my wits, man. Number one ride in the park. Number one. They'll never get a better one.
Creation of Windjammer's ride system was put out to bid. Unlike Zoom, Corkscrew, or the Boomerang, the surf racers were a custom layout that required engineering and manufacture from scratch. Togo International won the bid. At that time, Togo's team in Ohio were busy at work on a project for the New York Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Both their Nevada and California orders were slated to open in the first quarter of 1997. Windjammer's props and effects were built with the help of general contractor Gordon & Williams. a lagoon formed under the ride's track, finally providing the boardwalk a beach. In a few short months, sandy dunes, palm trees, a lifeguard tower, and waves of twisted steel transported guests to an energetic shore, tying the ocean feel back to its anchor at the Pacific Pavilion. What materialized from Sutton's concept was a coaster similar to Togo's Looping Mouse, a variant of the company mainstay first installed at Tobo Zoo Park in 1981. Windjammer's cars will be similar to Wild Mouse's cars in stature, with a relatively high seat profile. And like most Wild Mouse coasters, Windjammer coupled the cars into trains. Over-the-shoulder restraints were added, just like Viper at Great America and the Manhattan Express in Las Vegas. Knott's marketing was giddy about Windjammer. As the opening day approached, they publicized the coaster as the nation's first major outdoor dual-track steel racing coaster.
First, Knott's brought you Montezuma's Revenge, Jaguar, and Boomerang. Now, Knott's introduces a new side-by-side racing coaster, Windjammer. It'll blow you away.
Stop by Ralph's or Food for Less and get 2 tickets to Knott's for just $26.95.
Windjammer Surf Racers opened March 26, 1997. Riders competed on either the yellow or red track. The park would not confirm which of the two was faster. Leaving the station, Jammer's parallel tracks rose 6 stories and then turned to face the big moment. Synchronized drops into side-by-side vertical loops. Returning to right side up, racers separated into unique paths. Yellow crossing underneath red, passing one another on opposite bank turns until reforming at a pair of block breaks. Dips and turns made up the midsection. For the final stretch, a downward helix encircled a modernist gazebo designed to generate a tornado effect. Gate to gate, Windjammer Surf Racers lasted 90 seconds. With both tracks in operation, Windjammer had a throughput of 1,200 riders per hour, an acceptable amount for a marquee attraction. Half that amount would be unreasonable, obviously. Of the more interesting additions to Windjammer's corner of the boardwalk was the on-ride photo booth. Originally, designer Robin Hall wanted to place a gift shop in an old fishing boat or tug. However, the merchandise department resisted, preferring a facility with a boxier shape. After several drawings and fit attempts, a compromise was reached and lucky riders found themselves purchasing their special memories from the side of a yacht. Windjammer Surf Racers washed in a wave of coastal cool and completed the boardwalk. Unfortunately, the good vibes wouldn't last long. In the first week of its run, Windjammer showed signs of serious problems. For starters, riders complained of very rough rides. Most guests noted that the shoulder restraints lacked sufficient padding, leading to sore necks and migraines. The park hired inspectors and found structural issues with their new signature attraction. They determined that sections of track were misaligned. They found the metal mainframes of the trains were already fatigued and showing wrinkles. And they discovered the safety restraints were not only uncomfortable, they were defective. And then there was the most serious issue of all. In the midsection of the track, trains showed a tendency to valley or stall, leaving riders stranded and forcing the attraction to shut down. Inspectors concluded the most exasperating of reasons: the wind. Togo had engineered the tracks to provide sufficient momentum only as long as there was no resistance from the air. According to the park's analysis, the barrels of the individual trains were hindered and didn't move properly. Gusts as light as 3 miles per hour threatened to stymie the cars, leaving Knott's no other choice than to close the surf racers during breezy conditions. An embarrassing coincidence for a ride with the word wind in the title. As the farm spent thousands upon thousands of dollars to fix their spotlight offering, word was spreading of problems with the manufacturer's other recent coaster, the Hypercoaster out in Las Vegas. To Knott's, the picture had become clear. Togo's team in Ohio wasn't up for the job. As the farm made fixes to it, Windjammer was reduced to a state of barely operating. Then, in December of 1997, Cedar Fair took control of Knott's Berry Farm for the price of $245 million. Terry Van Gorder was replaced as GM by Jack Falfus, a longtime Cedar veteran and protege of Cedar CEO Dick Kinzel.
You know, mom and dad can ride together and enjoy the ride, or you can take, Johnny and Mary, the children. But let's not forget about Grandma and Grandpa, who's very important in the family, and it kind of immerses everybody. It's thrilling, it's exciting, but it's not so steep and such an intense high-speed drop that it rules anybody out.
Earlier in the year, Cedar Point debuted Mantis, the tallest, fastest, and steepest stand-up roller coaster at the time. A perfect example of the formula that Falfus had absorbed in his 21 years of experience with Cedar management. Jack sized up Windjammer surf races and concluded it was not up to his expectations mechanically. Within his first year as GM, Windjammer seized its racing feature. Only one track would operate at a time until 1999, when the yellow track was rendered unfunctional and the red track left to handle all riders. Even after portions of the red track were smoothed out, it didn't operate if the winds were moderate. On March 4, 2000, Knott's Berry Farm hosted a promotion dubbed Coaster Enthusiast Day. Enthusiasts could look at, but not ride, Windjammer. Jack Falfus spoke to the collected enthusiasts about the situation with the surf racers. He was blunt, stating, "Windjammer is not a ride I want running in the park." He said negotiations with Togo were ongoing, and in his estimation, the site's potential was being hampered by Windjammer's presence.
11 days later, Knott's Berry Farm filed a lawsuit against Togo International Inc. for $16 million.
In their complaint, the farm claimed that Togo had delivered a ride that was fraught with problems, alleging that the faulty design caused the ride to self-destruct.
Whatever warranties Togo agreed to in the contract were not honoured, leaving Knott's with a repair bill of $2 million.
The park shuttered Windjammer and entered the attraction into evidence. Togo could not be reached for comment when the lawsuit was announced. Avoidance might have been directed by the Home Office, as 2 of Togo Japan's rides were involved in fatalities the year prior. Togo offered no comment to those matters either. While the case made its way through the system, Knott's management wanted to get some use out of the northwest corner of the park. For the 2000 Halloween haunt, the farm raised the first incarnation of the Carnival of Carnivorous Clowns underneath Windjammer's abandoned rails. In March of 2001, Togo International Inc. filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and closed shop. Knott's kept the suit going. Impatient with the speed of justice, Falfus tore down the failed racing coasters. Knott's removed the lagoon, all references to surfing, and anything oceanic for a replacement that factored in neither the racing legacy of the site or the beach culture of Boardwalk.
This coaster is known for that sensation of pure speed and that visual climbing straight into the sky, that push you back in the seat, hard-pounding acceleration. That's what Accelerator's all about.
In June of 2002, with the Windjammer lawsuit still not scheduled for trial, Knott's Berry Farm opened Accelerator, a 205-foot tall, hydraulic launch coaster with a 1950s theme. Unlike the surf racers, this coaster could stand up to the wind. Rain, on the other hand? Finally, in September of 2003, the lawsuit went to trial. What took 5 weeks for lawyers to present required only 5 hours for the jury to resolve. Togo was off the hook. Knott's attorneys fumed that jurors had failed to examine over 100 pieces of evidence.
Lawyers representing Togo Japan broke the ride maker's silence, arguing that Knott's only used the suit as a money grab to pay for a bigger, badder, and faster attraction. That bigger, badder, and faster attraction proved itself as the right move.
Its kitschy mid-century palette would supplement the rest of the land's aesthetic a decade later, although most of the original boardwalk had already washed away. Pacific Pavilion closed in 1998, replaced by the unfortunately named Perilous Plunge. Itself replaced in 2013 by Coast Rider. Hammerhead was removed in 2003 due to high repair and maintenance costs. Hammerhead's replacement, a Huss topspin named Riptide, lasted 12 years, then got the boot, along with Boomerang, to make room for a surf-inspired Gerstlauer Custom Infinity coaster. Togo's North American subsidiary only ever sold 3 US coasters, and the one still operating today runs with replacement trains from Premier Rides. Togo Japan's last new edition opened at Saiban Amusement Park in 2004. They are still around today and available for new coaster proposals.
I'd like to welcome State Assembly Member Ed Royce's representative, Young Kim, and the mayor of Buena Park. I know, don't you guys I love saying Buena Park. I don't know why, I just do.
Today that Knott's Berry Farm and Cedar Fair Company have been looking forward with great anticipation. The goal of any theme park is not only to provide exciting rides and attractions, but also create an environment that makes you feel like you have been transported to somewhere special.
Windjammer surf racers arrived to high expectations. However, it was never given a chance to prove itself. It might have survived if simpler fixes were considered, but the petite looper didn't fit Cedar Fair's ideal and had to go. On its way out, Windjammer took with it the hopes of the original boardwalk. It left no remnants, no broken hearts. It simply dissipated, like the marine layer under the California sun.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Knott's Berry Farm. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and don't forget to hit subscribe to join the expedition. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for the latest theme park news as well as updates on upcoming episodes. As always, a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. We will see you next time.